Joining us now is Michael Arnold from the TRT World Research Centre. Good to see you, Michael. The Prime Minister, Hassan Diab, he made a televised speech about the IMF aid package and also government financial rescue plan. Your reaction to that, and what will that change concretely and in the short term, as we just heard our reporter saying, for the people that are outside protesting and who's seen their currency just devalue so rapidly?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of issues here. So in the short term, of course, as well as the long term, but in the immediate short term, there's these issues of stability. We have protests increasingly violent out in the street. People are desperate. They're angry. Many are going hungry. They don't have access to money, and even those who have money, things inflation has risen over 25%, and as you mentioned, the currency has devalued over 50%, and so things have become unaffordable. Basic staples have become unaffordable. With regards to the economic rescue plan that was apparently approved by cabinet yesterday, this like many things in Lebanon, there's a lot of potential here. However, since October, the country's been facing sort of this dual logic of needing a cash injection, which of course this economic plan calls for, in addition to the 10 billion asking from the IMF. This is also in addition to the 11 billion that was pledged by donor countries in Paris last year. All of this money is dependent upon significant, not only economic reforms in terms of a bloated public sector, most controversially reforming the electricity sector, which costs the state over $2 billion a year, but also, and this is the most important point and the sticking point, on substantial political reforms, on increased transparency, measures that would actually eliminate corruption. And the problem here is that the vested political interests in Lebanon have not come to a point where they see that these steps are necessary in order for the country to survive. So at this point, you have a logic of self-preservation from the political elite that continues to be maintained. And all of these events, whether it's the economic crisis, the corona pandemic, are being used by most of these players to play political games, to cast blame games on each other, upon their rivals, in order to score points with their own respective communities. But this is the situation that has gotten Lebanon to where it is today. And so this is the sort of catch-22 that the country finds itself in.
Indeed, it really does seem like a catch-22 and stalemate situation. So the money, the aid that we've been talking about here depends on reforms on this current government then. Is this the current government to get Lebanon out of the dual crisis it's in right now?
Well, I can't imagine that's a realistic scenario for two reasons. One, many observers have, I think rightly pointed to the fact that this government is really has been either set up to fail or set up to only survive in the short term, while those who really hold power in the country negotiate behind the scenes on what they want to do moving forward. Having said that, this is not to say that this is a puppet government necessarily. You have figures within the government, the Prime Minister in particular, who may very genuinely want to push some of these reforms forward, but his ability to do so and his political capital, that remains a question. The second part of that is, again, in order to have the legitimacy not only of the Lebanese, but also of the international community, the government really needs to show that they're independent from these political ties. And I think, the only way for that to really happen is to have a government composed truly of independence. And I don't think we're at a point where the established parties are ready to do that.
Michael, it's been great to speak to you. As always, Michael Arnold from the TRT World Research Centre. Really appreciate it.